Run it. I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it costs.
All right, what's up, everyone? I'm here with Heath Martin. You own Mentality SC. You also have NonStop, and then obviously your personal page. I looked at your website and stuff like that. It looks amazing. I think everyone listening to this, after listening to this, definitely go check him out if you're not already. So give us a little background on you. Where are you from? What are you doing currently?
Yeah. So essentially, I've been born and raised in Knoxville, Tennessee, and spent some time in some MLS academies, like Atlanta United and DC United. And then I went to IMG Academy as well. And then after that, I signed a 2-year professional contract with Forward Madison in the USL. And then that's basically kind of like the rundown of the last couple of years. Just going on my 3rd year as a pro. So yeah.
Love that. So before we get into like the nitty gritty and stuff like that, I want to ask you, like, why did you start posting content? Because now you have, 2 plus your personal page, you have 2 pages. Why did you start those? What were sort of the motivation behind it? When did you start them?
Yeah. So I started NonStop Progress back in October of 2019. And the main mindset around that was just like day by day progression. And I'm all about improving day by day. And essentially back in 2020, COVID was kind of starting to become a thing and all that. And so basically I kind of started this as a way to show players that you can attain success in the game by just adopting this mentality around day by day improvement. And I just wanted to encapsulate that into, actionable steps and actionable training techniques, if you will. And just kind of started to post content that was centered around that mentality of the day by day improving. And so that's kind of where NonStop started, was October 2019. Started posting content, started to figure it out, made the logo, made all the branding, all that stuff. And that kind of kicked that off. And then when it comes to Mentality SC, I have a business partner in Sweden that he and I actually started that.
Nice.
And it's been pretty great, going on steady. I think we're at like 50,000 followers at this point. That one's kind of more tailored towards just the motivational aspect and just kind of allowing players to tap into that every day, every other day, once a week, whatever they would like, to just kind of get a little bit of a sense of empowerment, if you will, and stuff like that. And so those posts are more centered around just kind of quotes and motivation and stuff like that. And so that's kind of the two. Now, Mentality SC was started, I believe, towards the beginning of last year. And that's great there as well. That's basically kind of where the 2 brands started from. So
So from that perspective, like how difficult is it for you? Because when I was playing, whether it be in college or professionally or whatever, I didn't do any content or anything. Right. It was only afterwards that I started doing content. And so I always ask, content creators and players, is it difficult for you to do content and play at the same time? How do you sort of segment your time towards, content and playing?
Yeah, well, I would say, like, the nice thing about being a pro is that in the afternoons you can kind of be more, I don't want to say relaxed, but you kind of have your afternoons where you can take your time and you can work on different things that are, low stress in relation to the training sessions and the trainings that you're doing in the mornings, because, primarily your day ends around 1 p.m. when it comes to the training side, and the obligations that you have as a pro when it comes to the actual showing up and playing and training and all that stuff. But then in the afternoons, you kind of have a little bit of flexibility when it comes to working on different projects. And so in the afternoons, I'll spend some time editing some content that I've already created previously, and repurposing some things that still add a ton of value. And I've already pre-recorded and pre-videoed stuff from the off season, or, on my weekends off or on my day off, or whatever. But obviously, yes, there is a balance. There's definitely a challenge when it comes to when you go out and you train and you film and all that stuff, and then not overdoing it, because you are a pro at the end of the day.
Right.
And the off season is a good way to go about building up a content bank, so to speak.
Right.
Because then you can pull from that throughout, the duration of the season, and repurpose stuff and all that stuff. But yeah, I mean, I would say like all across the board, no matter which way you do it, you can mix and match. But at the end of the day, as long as it's adding value to the end consumer, that's really the main goal. And so balancing it in that format is the way that I've been able to go about it. So yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like that that bit right there about as long as you're adding value to the end consumer, right? So, I see a lot of people posting, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it, because you're doing it as well, is the motivational aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of want to ask you, from a professional standpoint, like what role does motivation play in your life, in terms of like, what part of the process is motivation? Because you hear people all the time saying that either motivation is a great Kickstarter, a great way to get started, and then other people are saying that motivation means nothing and that you should just be disciplined, right? And so, what for you personally, what role does motivation play in your life?
Absolutely. Well, I would say this is a really, really important topic that the listeners should really focus on, what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
So basically, there's two types of motivation. There's intrinsic motivation and there's extrinsic motivation. Your intrinsic motivation is the motivation that you get through genuinely enjoying the activities that you do. And extrinsic motivation is the motivation that is from outside sources, such as money, fame, and things that you get as incentives for behaving or performing a certain action or accomplishing a certain task. So now studies show that if you're intrinsically motivated, right, that essentially improves your engagement in the activity and improves your creativity. It can determine your perceived performance, so it can help you perform better. And it can lead to preventing athlete burnout if you're intrinsically motivated, meaning that you have an internal desire to do what you do. Now, the interesting thing is that intrinsic motivation is defined by three different subgroups, and those three different subgroups are what's called mastery, autonomy, and purpose. Your mastery is you improving at something, right? The day-by-day progression mindset that taps into mastery. Autonomy is your ability to control your life, to be able to control what you do and to be a control, make decisions. And then purpose is your overarching reason as to why you do what you do, your why, right? And so tapping into those three different things contributes to your intrinsic motivation, which in turn helps to improve all the aspects I just said: your creativity, preventing athlete burnout, increasing your engagement in the activity, and genuinely increasing your desire to do what you want to do in that activity. So now, as we've understand the concept around motivation, so I would say that tapping into motivation when it comes to the internal side and really focusing on your mastery, autonomy, and purpose, those three things are what's going to contribute to your overall, the best mental health, the most creativity, best performance, and all that. And relying solely on your internal desire and tapping into that versus relying on external rewards, such as money and fame, to motivate you to do things. Now, intrinsic motivation and motivation in general can be used as a utility to both get you started and to keep you going. But across the board, it seems like studies are leaning towards the fact that if athletes have intrinsic motivation more so and they depend on that versus the external rewards, then it'll keep them motivated more consistently. And then kind of moving off of that, then you look into habit formation and creating a lifestyle out of it, which turns motivation into behaviors that are automatic. And so that's the automation process of it all. And so that's kind of the framework. Is you maybe you start off with motivation and you kind of tap into your internal intrinsic motivation, and then you transfer that into actual behaviors and a framework that makes things automated to where you make good decisions without even having to think about it. And then essentially it creates a lifestyle around improving every single day without you actually having to cognitively think about it and having to stress yourself out about it. And that's kind of the way that I would go about it. And there's other things like the over justification effect, which is like a theory that basically if external rewards are introduced, like money and fame are introduced, and then they're taken away, then a person's intrinsic motivation or their internal desire to do that task could be lessened. And so basically, you think about a professional player that's gotten $1 million contract, and then all of a sudden the next contract that he gets is maybe 800,000 or 600,000 or whatever, then that's a lessened external reward. So maybe in theory, maybe his internal desire to go and play is lessened in some way, shape, or form. Unfortunately, that's the truth that could be causing a lot of people to become complacent. Right.
Or the other way. Yeah. Or the other way around, like you said. So it goes from 1 million to 10 million. And now they're softened in that case.
And then their motivational desire or their motivational dependency becomes more shifted to the external side. And then if that's lessened or taken away later on, then their internal desire to do and play the game and actually work hard could be lessened, considering that the external rewards have been lessened. And so that's just kind of the whole concept. And I'm encapsulating that into a program that I'm creating right now. And so, to answer your question in the long form, because that was a big explanation, is that I would use intrinsic motivation to tap into, but eventually go into creating habits that automate it.
Habitually. So 100% spot on. I mean, I love that example, and there's a lot of things inside of each one of those that, that I was thinking about as well, in the sense that, football, soccer is an extrinsic game. Not 100%, but there are extrinsic factors that we cannot control, right? So we have the fans. The more fans that you have, you're going to get a different response, right? Until you get to a point where you're just used to playing in front of 25,000, right? And then you have the scoring a goal, getting that dopamine from scoring a goal, from having your teammates tell you did a good job and stuff like that. But I really like the things that you're saying about the intrinsic motivation, and that if we can really tap in and make a large majority of our motivation intrinsic, then we are on the right path. So is that on point, you think?
I believe so. Yes. And there's some studies that show that if you're intrinsically motivated, then you're going to have more of a growth mindset around the journey, and you're more kind of interested, if you will, with the journey and the growth and the process versus the outcome. And that seems to be a little bit more fulfilling when it comes to, like, the purpose side and the mastery side and all that. So intrinsic motivation, I feel like, wins in that.
So I love that. So with all that in mind, what would you say is like a good some good building blocks if a young player is listening, if a 10, 11, 12-year-old player is listening right now, and they're saying, hey, Heath, I just want to be the best possible player I can be at the end of this journey, whether that be 18 or 24 or 32. I just want to be the best possible player I can be. I've played soccer, but now I'm really trying to take it seriously. What should I start doing from a mental perspective?
I would say focus on improving every single day, focusing on improving in the areas that you feel like are lacking. You said from the mental perspective. So I'd say
all around. Oh yeah, all around.
Okay, yeah. Well, I would say, from the mental perspective specifically, I would say focus on improving every single day. Focus on playing with, or that's still the all around. I'll just go all around, basically. Improve every single day. I would say play with better players, get on a better team if you can. If you feel like you're at the top of if you're the top three players on your team, basically, in terms of level of performance, then I would say find a team where you're middle of the pack, because there's still growth potential. And then I would say, the next thing would be getting in an environment where the team that you're playing on has a lot of vision, with people that can make decisions to help you to progress on. For example, being in an academy environment where There's coaches that are watching that can help you to progress on versus being in a team where you're the best player on the team and there's really no progression ladder. There's no growth potential. You're kind of already capped out. So finding those opportunities and finding those ways to kind of pivot and get into those situations is far more beneficial, I feel like, in the long run, because you're kind of consistently stimulated and iron sharpens iron. So you need to be in an environment where people are better than you or at least pushing you. So that's kind of the all-around picture. Because it's tough to say just the mental side, because when you're so young, like there's a lot of different things. So I can't just say like, hey, like, do this, that mentally, because if you're like a pro and it's like, how much better are you going to get technically, right? How much better are you going to get physically? Like you're literally, like you're fully grown. You've gotten this, that. Now it's like more of like, okay, how can I make a paradigm shift in your mind to where you kind of open up more doors? Because sometimes it's more of a mental shift with pros than it is with younger players needing to actually like genuinely just get better as a player, like improve their technical ability, improve their athleticism, improve their technical understanding of the game, improve their attitude or whatever. So younger players, those are the big ones, I would say.
I mean, recently you see Marcus Rashford. I mean, there's been no change with his body or anything like that. It's just a mental shift, a confidence shift, where now he has 5 and 4 games. And so you're spot on about that as well. Like when I think that's a good distinction, is like when you're a younger kid, the younger you are, the more you need to just have more experiences.
Just play games.
Had more, play games, play with, like you said, the first thing you can do is get with better players. I think that's the best, because once you get with better players, now you're presented with new problems, new trials, new whatever, new situations and challenges. Once you have those, now you can actually take a second and figure out those problems, figure out how to get through them. And then, like you said earlier, now you can develop and make them habitual, where now I can get through them without even thinking. And obviously that's a longer process. That's not just an overnight thing.
Yeah, like you become the average of your inner circle. So if your inner circle is comprised of people that are better than you, then by default, you're gonna get better. I mean, it's just pretty much plain and simple. So
rising tide lifts all ships, right? So that's spot on. If you're young, get with a better team or a better group of players that you're training with. So you kind of alluded to it a little bit, but like, what is more important, the brain or the body? And how do those two work together in your opinion?
70% brain, 30% body. I'd say that your mind controls your body. So in that speaks for itself in terms of percentages and which one's more important. Like I said, 70% mind, 30% body. I think that, having the mental bandwidth to deal with adversity and to have the right mindset that's going to help you to progress forward, it creates a catalyst for the bodily development. And what I mean by that is, like, if your mind's in the right place, then it's going to help your body to develop the assets that are going to get your body to the right place. And so if your mind's in the wrong place, then it's going to act as a negative catalyst. It's going to cause your body to go towards the wrong place. So it's just like your mind leads your body, essentially.
So I like that, because I was listening to David Goggins, and he was talking about how he made someone he's like, I need you to do 100 pull-ups, and he's like, I can't even do 3, but he's like, you have all day to do it, like, get it done. And he did 100 in like 2 hours, right? And so it was just for me, I was like, oh, okay. So like you said, the mind creates the capacity for you to improve your body, basically. Right. So if I'm going outside and I'm like, I'm going to do 10 sprints, and I do 10, and I know in my head I can do 20 more, but I don't do it, then how is my body going to improve? Right. So that's sort of what I extracted from what you said, is like, basically, if you get your mind right, then your body will follow, because you'll be able to, whether that's push yourself through that wall, whether it's playing in front of a lot of people and you're not playing well, but if you get your mind to a certain place, then your body you'll start connecting those passes, and you'll start, scoring those goals if you get the opportunity. And so I really like that distinction. But I want to go before we get off. I want to go through the a couple of your posts. One of them was
Yeah.
like 3 habits of a pro, right? So you said nutrition, taking care of your body, and hard work. Let's just break those down. Like, what do you mean by nutrition? Just to extrapolate a
Yep.
little bit more.
Yep. So, basically plain and simple when it comes to nutrition, putting the right things in your body consistently. And now I stress the word consistently because if you eat well and balanced for a day, sure, the next day you might feel a little bit better. But if you
Right.
eat bad the following day, then it's just going to go right back to square
Right.
one. So it's essentially just like consistently eating the right foods that allow your body to consistently get the proper adaptation to your training, which will
Yep.
over time help you to not only literally develop your body, develop in general as a player, but also healthy foods help your mind as
Right.
well. So it's just like put good things in your body and your body's engine,
Right.
if you think as a Ferrari, it'll perform better.
Right.
And so, you know, essentially nutrition is a really huge factor when it comes to developing habits to become a pro because you're a professional person.
Yeah.
You're not just a player that's good, you're a professional person now. So if you
Right.
don't eat right, then that's going to affect everything from your mental performance to your physical performance. So I mean everything is affected by nutrition. I mean literally almost every single bodily process and reaction and system in your body requires proper nutritional input.
Right.
So
Right.
that's very key. And then you said so it was nutrition and then
Yeah. Nutrition and then taking care of your body.
yeah. So taking care of your body, nutrition is a segment of that.
For sure.
But sleeping, basically every hour of deficit of sleep or every hour that you take off of your sleep time causes dramatic decreases in overall athletic performance and mental performance. I mean, it's just, it's taking care of your body when it comes to making sure that you listen to your body to overtrain and then push your body and progressively overload to where you're fit. And that could be taking form in the way of listening to your body and taking care of it in regards to being mobile. So having proper mobility in your joints and joints to be able to, reduce your overall injury risk. That could be hip mobility, whatever. I mean, it's just like kind of just taking care of your body overall and just trying to, dot your I's and cross your T's, and checking the boxes to make sure that you're increasing the longevity of your career through taking care and keeping your body healthy. So that's huge there. That could be the difference between playing until you're 30 and playing until you're 37.
For sure.
Taking care of your body, the habit of that, which is the consistent action of it. And then the last one was hard work, right?
Yep.
So I mean, if you're, that's just pretty foundational, I would say. There's no pro that's become a pro without hard work and without creating a habit of it and consistently doing it. And yeah, I mean, work ethic is going to be, I would say, if not the most important, one of the key ones. That's going to be a big determining factor because I feel like hard work does beat talent. And I think it's 30% talent, 70% hard work now because players are smarter and the game's becoming more tactical, I feel like. Maybe it's still athletic here and there, but I do feel like the smarter the player you are, the more that you can offset of talent by being smarter. So
you just see a lot of teams now that are like, you just see a lot of teams that, were sort of on the cusp before. They're now actually doing well because tactics are taking over to the point where teams that are not in those, those, whether it's in the Prem, the top four or, in the World Cup, like Morocco and teams like that, you see teams that are able to tactically make their way to the next level. Right. So, like you said, like they're just becoming smarter teams. So they're offsetting the lack of talent way more. So yeah, I really like all those. One thing that I've really been talking a lot about, whether it's on the podcast or on my page or whatever, it's the difference between hard work and competitiveness. And I think what you're saying with the 30-70, I think it's sort of spot on. I think young players now look at it as, if I work hard, I'll be able to beat someone with talent, right? But the key there is, it's not just about hard work, because I believe at a certain level everyone works hard. I believe and it's not even that high of a level. I look at a lot of young kids, and they work hard. They put in the work. When you tell them to do something, they'll do it.
Gotta be smart about it.
Be smart about it, but also at the same time, the competitive nature, especially in America right now, is gone down in young kids, because everyone gets a medal nowadays. But when it's 1v1 and I'm going against you, I don't see the same grit and determination that may have been there in previous years. And I think I don't obviously I don't necessarily know the answer to that, but the difference between competitiveness and hard work, I think, is a huge distinction, where it's like, I might not have to work hard to win, but as long as I win, great. But the next game, it might not even be hard work. I might need to go past hard work at that point. I might need to do something, I might need to have a little bit of gamesmanship. It's late in the game. I might have to do a little something that, competitive. We're here to win. We're not here to make friends. We're not here to have a great, it feels great to win. But most of the time, winning does not feel good. So have you ever?
Yeah. No. I mean, I get that for sure. I was actually watching a podcast the other day, and there's a guy that was saying basically that he now he's happier when he sees other people winning than when he wins. And when he loses and sees someone else win, he almost gets like a pleasurable desire of like gratification that he was able to help them in their pursuit, versus him being, and he used the word greedy, to achieve it or whatever, and take that opportunity away from someone else. I think that there's a balance in the world of both. I think that if you're a pro, and at the end of the day, the foundational concept of being a pro is that you're on the field because you're good enough to supply a product that is going to help the team win. And through winning, you keep your coach and you keep your staff employed. You're entrusted with that role. I think that winning has to be at the forefront of what you're trying to do in both scenarios with that. Now, what I do think is that on the outside world, when it comes to helping people get opportunities and helping them develop and everything like that, there is definitely room for being happy and being, feeling a sense of gratification because you helped someone get an opportunity and they were able to succeed from it. But I do think that in the world of professional sports, there needs to be a lot more of a sense of competitiveness when it comes to
It's a zero-sum game. It's a zero-sum game. Either I win or you win. It's that, right? And so I think there needs to be a little bit less of, there's tomorrow.
Participation trophies or whatever as well.
Participation, or even, I'll get them tomorrow. Like, they'll be tomorrow or the next day, or I'll just go back to training tomorrow and get better. Well, at some point it has to happen today. At some point you have to win today. But before we go, last question. As of this time of recording, you have, across all social media, 236,000 followers on Instagram. What would you say if we put them all in a room that's bigger than 2.5 Camp News? What would you say to them? What would be like your main message? 1 or 2 points.
The first point would be adopt mentality around day by day progression. And the second point would be find a way to do what you love and have it to tap into your purpose in life. And once you find your purpose, try to pursue whatever means necessary to live out and to execute on your purpose. Because I believe that like everyone is put on this earth literally for a bigger purpose than what we can see or fathom or conceptualize. And so, you know, that's the biggest thing, is trying to find that bigger why or that bigger purpose, and then, you know, do things that actively jolt or help you to go in the direction of fulfilling that. So yeah,
I love how that,
purpose driven and mindset formation.
It's my time, think it's my year, yeah. I really feel it's my time, think it's my year, yeah.